morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with the Relationship Matters TV show. I hope everyone is doing just great. We are here right outside of Chicago, and we are under what they're saying is a heat dome. So it's hot and it's humid. And it's in the 90s, but we have had, I guess I forgot what they call it, but anyway, it feels like 100, feels like 101, and it's just so humid. But guess what? I am not complaining because I would rather have this hot, humid weather than snow. Now, I don't mind, it could be really, really cold because, we go below zero. But you can always get warm, or you could just stay in the house. But snow, you cannot avoid the snow. I do not like the snow. It can be snowing and it looks so beautiful and pretty, especially at night, the lights kind of sparkling off of it. But then it gets old and it gets ugly and it gets dirty. But anyway, that's it. That's my relationship with the weather. This is Relationship Matters TV. Well, guess what? I was in Colorado Springs at a speaking engagement, and I was wondering what there were kids and there were adults. And after I did my presentation, I started wandering around and I was looking and I thought, where are these kids going? And I looked and I saw this young man in there with this chef jacket on and chef hat. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me go in here and see what the heck is going on. Plus the fact I was hungry. But anyway, so I went in there and there was this young man, Chef Andre. And Chef Andre was teaching the kids how to make this, I think it was an egg roll, but it had some meat in it. And I was learning too. And then when it was all over, I thought, then he started talking about how we choose food. And it was so unique. I thought, you know what? I have to talk with Chef Andre again. Let me tell you a little bit about Chef Andre, and then I will bring him on so we can talk about food. So Chef Andre he was honored to accept the nomination for Chef of the Year in 2023. He is heavily involved with the ACF, which he is going to explain to me, although I think I do see it, what that is. He has 20 plus years of management experience outside the kitchen, and he decided to take his leadership knowledge into the kitchen. He fell in love with food. He has pursued his love of food. He's taken several courses. He has been a chef at nursing homes, country clubs, dine-in cinemas, soccer stadiums, and of course, he is an instructor. So he teaches children and adults the culinary art skills. Now, I am going to bring him on so that he can talk to us about being Chef Andre. Hello, Chef Andre.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
So, Chef Andre, and I still have that recipe that you handed out, and I haven't done anything with it. But, so Chef Andre, why did you become a chef? So when did you know that you like to fool around with food?
It goes back to sixth grade. we actually, back then we had home economics, and I took a class. We all had to take it, but we were sewing, we were cooking and all that stuff. And I ended up making some spaghetti and loved it. And I came home and I was so excited and showed my parents, and they both were like, "Oh, this is really good. You're making a spaghetti from now on." So ever since sixth grade, I've loved food, cooking. So I'm from Baltimore, so I'm a sort of a seafood guy too. But yeah, I've been cooking, and then my dad was in the Air Force, so he was gone during the day, and then my mom ended up going to nursing school. So I was a little young kid. Luckily, I was on the Air Force base, so my mom was able to go to I'm sorry, not culinary school, but nursing school. So I was at home by myself. I had a little neighbor. She said, if something happens, go to the neighbor. But I was cooking at home since I was like 8 years
Oh,
old. Yeah. So just making little stuff at home, easy stuff. But yeah, I've always liked cooking. So yeah, I've loved it.
so okay, so you like to cook. So a lot of folks like to cook.
Mhm.
But what made you decide that you wanted to be a chef?
It's funny. This goes back a little bit. When we moved out here, we moved out to Colorado Springs in '85. And my dad ended up. We had this. He had a friend on base, and he used to do these lobster luau's. And it was back then. It was a little inhumane. He would take the lobster, sort of go down the stomach, And now that I've learned, now you sort of just go through the head. But he would do these lobster luau's, so we would have the lay, and have everybody over. And my dad took it over after he moved away. So my dad ended up going to culinary school as well. He went back, I want to say like 95. And so I was already into cooking. I'm into cooking more than him, but I think he went just to go, and he didn't really do much with it. But I was like, oh, I like that, So I watched him and his friend do these lobster luau's and stuff. And then, I got into the corporate world, started managing and everything. And then eventually I just said, I'm sort of done with the corporate world. It's been 20 something years, and
Oh,
my passion is food. So I went to culinary school, completed that. And then, I actually went to culinary school to teach. I didn't go to actually be a chef. I
okay.
wanted to teach. And I saw, the funny thing is I saw the movie Hitch, and I got this idea. I was like, oh, I said, when Hitch came out, there's a scene in there, and I tell everybody when I teach the classes this scene. But the man says, "This is fun. We're paying to cook our own food." In the movie Hitch, and the wife's like, "Shut up. It's a good time." And I was like, that seems like fun to teach this course, with the
Okay.
to actually, just teach people how to cook. I think they were in New York. The scene was set. So, and I was like, I want to do that. And that was, I still took a while. It still took like another, what I want to say, 10 years to finally go to school after I saw that movie. But I've always did that, and, talked to my wife and was like, hey, I want to do this. And she finally encouraged me and said, hey, do it. You're tired of corporate. So I ended up doing that. And so, yeah, I ended up falling in love with being a chef. I always told myself I didn't want to be in a hot kitchen. I just wanted to teach cooking classes. So now I'm doing both. It's actually pretty fun being in a hot kitchen. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, building your team and everything. But if you're really passionate about food, you really don't pay attention to the heat and all of the struggles and everything. It hits you. It's hard being a chef. So. But yeah, that's my journey. I'm still cooking. I'm at the Academy Hotel right outside the Air Force Academy where I lived, which is really fun. I'm like, oh, we used to come to this place when we were little and do brunch. So now I'm working there, and I opened up the Filipino restaurant. That's where you came in. You knew about.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's been a long. What I say, like 9, 10 years in the chef part, but yeah, the other 20, 25 were in the just the corporate world, and been in management a long time. So yeah.
Okay. All righty. Well, good grief. We just started and question came in. Did you have a mentor who directed you to a certain style of cooking?
Yes, that's funny. Yeah, so when I was in at school, Pikes Peak Community College, going through the program, they actually had an internship. And I talked to one of the girls in the class, and she said, "Oh, I'm over here at the Cheyenne Mountain Country Club." So I said, "Oh, okay. What do they do over there?" And she said, "Oh, it's fun. We work with good ingredients, and country clubs, they got money." So I was like, "That sounds fun." Like I want to work with she was talking about all the nice ingredients they had and big tuna and all this stuff. So I said, I want to go over there. And so she said, call the guy. So Matt Richardson, Chef Matt Richardson, a little younger than me, but like he's only like 5, 6 years younger. But the man knows his stuff. He went to culinary school, I think, Le Cordon Bleu in
Oh,
Cleveland.
okay.
And so, I went to, the culinary school, but I'd say I'm classically trained because of him, because he was classically trained, which basically means French cooking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does classically
Yeah,
trained
it's
mean?
all our food basically, or well, at least not all of our food, but when it starts to get into the culinary world and everything, everybody looks at France, French cuisine. That's like the mother of everything. The five mother sauces, all of that. So,
Wait,
um,
wait, wait. The
yeah,
what?
five. There's five basic mother sauces. So yeah,
Okay, so now you said that.
yeah.
I want to know what that means.
Don't put me on the spot. This is, I might forget. But no, we have a Espanol sauce. It's a brown sauce. And then there's a white sauce bechamel. There's a red sauce, a tomato-based sauce. And then you add your hollandaise sauce. That's the other one. And, I'm forgetting the fifth one. But yeah,
What?
we did. Yeah, there's five mother sauces, and then from those five mother sauces, basically you can create other sauces. So, for example, like the bechamel sauce, if you add a little cheese, it's now called a Mornay sauce. Most regular people call it a cheese sauce. So you just have some flour and some fat, and then you make a sauce out of it. So yeah, all of it. Yeah, basically, French sort of basically started the whole thing. They started a whole, the guy that did it based it off the military, Escoffier. So you basically have stations, and so
Okay.
people cook at stations. So he formatted it from the military. So
Oh,
this guy Escoffier formatted that. So a lot of stuff came from France. So he was classically trained. So in school we went over everything. But I got to learn a lot from him. So yeah, Matthew Richardson, that's my mentor. I still talk to him. I was working with him a couple weeks ago. And he actually got me into the ACF, the American Culinary Federation.
oh,
And yeah, moving up in that rank. So yeah, I want to stay up on all of the new terms, new everything. And so yeah, it's a passion of mine. I've loved it for a long time, and it feels good to actually be doing it now finally. So
wow, that's wonderful. So Jacqueline Rogers sent a comment. She said, "There's nothing like having someone in your life that backs you in your calling and your dreams."
yeah.
That's the truth. And on the opposite side of that, was there anyone that told you, "Man, what you mean you're gonna be a chef?"
No, it's the funny thing is like before I wanted to be a chef, like when I finally did it, a lot of my friends were like, "Yeah, you was always cooking at the barbecues when we had parties, you know." So it's like,
Okay.
I was born in '75, so we, in the '90s, we partied and did all of our stuff. I was a young kid, but every time they'd end up asking me, "Hey, you need to cook, you need to cook," and actually one of my friends, and we go back and forth, but he was like, "You need to go to culinary school." So yeah, a lot of my friends were encouraging. No one really was against it at all. So yeah, everybody was more encouraging, and they I think they saw the talent in me and always wanted me to be the one to cook. So yeah, he finally said that, and I didn't pay attention to him. Of course, I was young back then, and but lately, after a while, I was like, he was one of the first people to say that. So yeah, Rob was his name. So yeah, like yeah. So yep.
Okay. Well, another question came in
All right.
right quick because I definitely want to get to your unique perspective
Yeah.
on why we choose certain foods. But
Yeah.
my audience is sending questions. So now this one is, what is the favorite meal that you cook for you and your wife?
Oh man. Well, like I have to split that up in two parts. So she's from well, we met each other out here, and then she's from the West Coast, so she's from San Diego. So she likes and lived in Louisiana a little bit, but she's a seafood person too, just like I am. Like I said, Baltimore, seafood capital. That's what I call it. That's what we all called it. So yeah, blue crabs. I love scallops, but yeah, I don't really have a favorite meal, so to say, but it's all seafood. That's my favorite, being
Okay.
from Baltimore. And then yeah, like I had a friend a long time ago got me into Indian food, and then she does a nice butter chicken. So sometimes when I come home and it's she does Indian butter chicken, I come home and I'm just worn out, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. So yeah, she loved the Indian butter chicken, and yeah, we both love seafood. So yeah.
So who's the better cook?
Yeah,
And she probably watch it.
yeah, I can't lie. It's gonna be me.
Oh, okay.
But no, she does. She has like a good set of meals that she actually really cooks well, and it's nice to come home and just not have to worry about cooking, and have her do some of her cooking. She cooks very well, but in the end, I win that battle.
In the end, you win that battle.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so we've gone over why why you became a chef. What is the hardest part about being a chef?
Yeah, glad you asked that. You know, it's all and this would probably be a segue to the what we're gonna actually get into. But the hardest part is managing. I would say trying to get people in. Like it's you get used to standing. Like I was sitting at a desk cubicle and managing people forever. And then you're standing, and you're like, oh man, I'm standing for 8 hours. I'm used to sitting down, in air conditioning. But uh, that goes away really fast. The standing, you don't even notice it after like a week or two. You're like, okay, cool. But the hardest part is managing people. And lately, like I've started. This is one thing that I've had to deal with is the generations. Generations are different. You know. Back in my day, and this was before I was a chef, I always hear that the chefs my age or older, people were throwing plates and cussing and screaming and going off. That's changed. Since I've got into it, I haven't seen any of that. But I see the contrast between, the old and the new. It's difficult. For me, managing for 25 years and then coming into the hot kitchen and managing for the last 9 or 10, um, the hardest part is trying to deal with you have somebody like older than me, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have different it's diverse, every kind of different ethnicity, and you have somebody that's 16 years old, and you're sitting here trying to manage all of that. And it's difficult. I've started to realize, like, oh man, you got to change up a little bit when you're dealing with younger kids, and we, the generations make a big difference. It's a little difficult. So yeah, yep.
So okay, so Jacqueline Rogers wants to know, should France still be the gold standard with so many diverse
Hmm.
cuisines?
You know, um, I don't know if it should be the gold standard, but I will say this. Over there, I'm not going to get into a history lesson, but France has been in a lot of places, and their influences there. I don't want to call it the gold standard. That's a great question. so like especially in the U.S., England won too. It's become so diverse. England has a large, Middle Eastern and Indian presence there.
Yeah.
So like some of their national dishes now are Indian dishes, or
Okay.
so. And same here. We are so diverse here. So I don't want to necessarily call it the gold standard, but France has basically all of the basics. So,
Okay.
for example, in Thailand, we have, or I'm sorry, Vietnam, we have the baguette, and the banh mi sandwich. France was over there. So, now
Oh,
they have their banh mi has like a play off the a baguette, and but they have their own style to it. So I would say I don't necessarily want to call it the gold standard, because I'm one of those ones that like to go against the grain.
okay.
And I don't, I try to, and when I teach classes, I try to encourage students to, a lot of students come in and they're like, oh, well, I'm Mexican. I just want to do Mexican, or, or I'm a black, I just want to do Southern cuisine. And I encourage them. I was like, man, you
Yeah.
can make that Southern cuisine or that taco a lot different if you learn some different styles and different ways that other people do things.
Okay.
And then you can bring that back to your roots and make it a little bit better. So I love the diversity of the whole world. I'll try everything. It's always fun to try everything. I know there's some stuff that I'm like, ooh, you might just dip your pinky in it. You don't want to taste too much, but for the most part, food is food. We all do things. Some people think, I have a lot of Southern roots. Some people think, I eat liver and onions like nobody's business,
Oh, I love me some
Yeah.
lemon onions.
And some people look at me like that's disgusting, and I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
well, no, it's not, And so it's the same with other cultures. People tend to have just bad feelings. You look at somebody and you're like, oh, like menudo, it's a Mexican soup, they have tripe in. I'm like, that's no different than chitlins. It's not
I,
this. It's basically, it's not the same, but it's the same principles. Like, people cook with whatever they had, and it's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I encourage people and the students that I teach, adults or kids, get outside of yourself for a second and actually and try some of this stuff, and you'll understand, like, it's actually really good. And
Okay.
yeah.
So who is Pamela Thompson?
Pamela Thompson. That's funny. That's the mother.
Because she
My
says
mom.
I knew that. Chef Andre has always had a passion for food. He was eating shrimp when he was a baby. I am very proud of my son.
Yeah, definitely my mom. Yeah, she tells me the stories when I was 2, cracking open the crabs, and peeling shrimp when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, I've been loving food for a long time. Yeah, they taught me what I know. So Baltimore is
Okay.
the roots.
So now let's get into something that's really, really, really interesting.
All right.
So I want you to hold up something.
Yep. Okay.
Hold it up.
Hold that up.
Now, folks, let's see that. We see green. Is that red or orange?
Orange.
Orange, blue, and gold or
Yeah.
yellow?
Gold.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Chef Andre, what does that have to do with food?
All right. Well, I'll go into a little backstory real quick. When I was managing a call center at the time, and it was actually it was for a bank. It was Wells Fargo, and they had this course, and I was like, okay, what is this? And it was this course. It was real colors, and we ended up learning how to deal with other people's, learning our own personality, and then dealing with other people's personality, and learning how to speak to them in their language. And basically, it's for everyone. But it's definitely, like I said earlier, it's hard to manage people, especially when it's really diverse in the ages. But this course, it's good for definitely leadership, but it's good for everyone to know. So I learned that course, I want to say the year my daughter was born, Brianna, is 1999. And I learned that there, and I always took it with me. I just was like, okay, everywhere I went, I tried to take that, the knowledge that I learned from that course with me. And eventually, got remarried, and my wife was like, once we started talking about cooking, I said, I love psychology. I would like to combine psychology with food some kind of way. And she was like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. And then I said, you know what, there's a lot of psychology behind the real colors class. Why don't I try to combine that some kind of way? So she was very encouraging, and she said, well, let's do it. I'll go with you. Let's go get certified in it. So we went to Phoenix. We flew out to Phoenix, got certified in it. And then I came back. I still took a while, but then I finally developed a class. Um, and yeah, we that's basically where it is. Like, yeah, real colors is just it's a like a lot of people are familiar with Myers-Briggs. Real colors is sort of a scaled down version of the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. So I like to encourage everybody to learn how to talk to your, not only as a leader, to talk to your team, but just as a coworker, or as if you take this home, you learn how to talk to your husband, um, and yeah, just talk to your husband, your kids, do whatever, and yeah, just it's fun.
So, okay, well, mom says she believes the leadership course is called True Colors.
It's real colors. So there are two different versions of it. There's
Okay.
yeah, true colors and real colors. There's a almost like a Tupac versus Biggie thing. Like it's just,
Okay.
yeah.
So now I still want to know, what does color have to do with food? I mean,
Yeah.
so if you so okay, so the red, I mean the orange, does it mean, are you saying that if you like certain colors, that affects your choice of food? What does it have to do with food?
No, so it doesn't have so much. So from my perspective, and this is just my teaching. This isn't what I learned in
Yeah, yeah,
class.
with
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
just from what I observed. So you actually, with the real colors. So what I've connected it with food is like, so I'll give you a little quick breakdown. Golds, and this, and it's just quick. So golds are more daring. Goals are daring, and sort of like your goals are going to be more of your risk takers. They're going to be more like, if you have, I'm sure all of us have friends. You're mountain biking or skydiving. Those are, I'm sorry, not gold. That's more of your oranges. Oranges are more your risk takers, whatever. Golds are more very organized, very structured. Just into it, like, and they're just into their deal. Blues are very artsy. So if you're sort of a singer or a painter, artsy types, usually a lot of chefs want to create. So a lot of your chefs are going to be your blues. And then your greens are more analytical. Your greens are very analytical, sort of want to work by themselves, like math, chess, the things like that. Computers are most of your computer engineers are going to be green. So the way that blends in with food, in my perspective, is like, I have a best friend. I went out there and we were talking about food. Me and his wife talking about food, and this man just wanted to eat. My wife laughs at the story. He might be on here laughing too, but he's just like he's not into food like everybody else, like, so he's just like, I'm just eat to live, like,
Okay.
and so I started noticing. I was like, yeah, there are people like that, like, which is weird to me because I love to create, and like, I'm wanting to live to eat, type thing. But so I started noticing the differences, and usually with the as far as like the plating, there you can get, like, there's so much science behind it. They're saying, if you're an extrovert, you probably like spicy. I don't break it down that deep. My breakdown is from my Real Colors experience. And basically, with that, it's just saying, like I see blues. So blues are going to like the artsy plate, right? They're going to like the beautiful plate, and it looks, it's abstract art and this, that, and the other. Your golds, since they're organized. So golds, one example of golds is if you organize your closet. Golds tend to have like and colors. So all my black clothes are here, all my red clothes are here. That's how golds think. So blues
That's
are all
me.
over. Yeah, that's you.
So what? Okay, so
Yeah.
I got to get into me.
No, yeah.
So, all right. So, yeah, my girlfriend talks about how my clothes are organized in my closet, stripes, blues, colors,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and in my drawers and everything is.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that have to do with the fact that when I have my food on my plate, I organize it?
Sometimes,
I
like,
mean,
so we all love food, right? So here, let me slow down a little bit. Just so we all operate out of all of our personality types. So all of those four colors, we're going to utilize. All of us use four of them. There's two. Your main two are the ones you function out of the most. So, for example, like if you're gold, yeah, I don't know what your secondary color is, and you don't want to try to put forced colors on people, but you can, once you start getting into it, you can start to tell like, oh, this person's, that's a gold, that's a blue. But you, like when we teach the course, you don't want to, do that. You just want to sort of have a blank slate and let everybody learn on their own. But you'll start to realize like, oh, that's a gold, she's an orange, or she's a blue. But with that said, like for example, like for you, like if you're gold, you probably don't, sometimes people don't like their food touching this, that, and the other. But it depends. Like your secondary might be blue. So if your secondary is blue, you might like a mixture of, organization and a little bit of like sort of abstract art type thing. So it all depends on what you are. Some people, this was an oddity when we took the certification for the course, but some people are sort of, about the same in all four.
mm-hmm.
Not, that's rare, um, but you operate out of your first two. So what I started to realize is like, like your oranges, they're so out there, and they're just trying to do the most, and you're risk takers, and like I said, they're skydiving. So your oranges are probably gonna like the meal that comes out with the flame and the smoke and everything, and they're just like, this is crazy. Your blues are liking it for the art. Your greens, sometimes they're sort of analytical and into themselves. So of course, we all love food, so we can't sit there and sort of label it to, so, oh, greens, they like to be to themselves, they don't like all that dramatic and flair as well. But if you really, operate out of it and you start to pay attention to a lot of that stuff, you do realize, like, you'll start to see, oh, they like certain plates, they like to how this presentation is, they like certain food this way, so it's more about the presentation than putting it on someone. But yeah, it's a lot, to it. You can get deeper into it, but we won't go that deep tonight.
Okay, so because I'm trying to figure it out. I don't, like you said, sometimes we work with all of those colors,
Mm-hmm.
but I just never I never connected the colors, or let's say like I'm gold, and I guess I have a little blue and probably other stuff, other colors, but now like you're talking to about the colors, and when you take it and you associate it with the food or your plates,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, I understand, you can't just like say, okay, that's all of that, and he's all of that, or he's
Yeah.
all of that, but I can see what you're talking about, and I just thought that was so interesting. But it does open my eyes to the fact that I can be at a dinner and everybody is eating and I'm organizing my food on my
Mm-hmm.
plate.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm the last one to finish
Mm-hmm.
because I have organized my food.
Yep.
It might can touch,
Yeah.
but it's just, you know,
It's
so it just,
structured. Yeah. Definitely gold, probably, but we won't. You
yeah,
got to
yeah,
take the
yeah,
you got to take the test. You got to take the
yeah,
test.
yeah, I got it. Okay, so is there a test?
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us about the test. And any
Yeah.
of you who are out there who see yourself in those different colors, put it in there. Put it in
Yeah.
there.
So yeah, yeah, like I said, you're probably gonna relate to every single color at one point. But you know, like the cool thing is when you take the test, you start to narrow it down. So and
Okay.
you're probably not gonna be one of those people that have all four, even 25, 25, 25. You know, like you're probably gonna be more like 40, 30, and then the other two are sort of, you don't operate out of those two. But the test is you basically take a visual test. And the visual test, you just say, you look at it, and here I can probably show it to you. But like, if you look at this one, if you look at the orange, it's got the skateboarder, it's got go for it, and then I think the green one will be a good example. You got your, telescope there, if you can see it. Uh,
Yeah.
and then you have your computer there, of course, and your math and all of that. So you take the visual test and you say you go basically go 1 through 5. What's most like me? What's most like me? And then you do your color survey. I'll show that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has questions like, when I make decisions, and you have A, B, C, and D. Do I do it quickly and go with my first impressions? B, I think about it, consider the choices, then decide. C, I listen to my feelings and consider how my decisions will affect others. And then D, I take it seriously and always try to make the right decision. So you do about 10 of those, and then you do your pictures. There's a text, and that's your final test. You do all 3 of those. You
Oh,
add them up here at the bottom, and
uh-huh.
then you figure out like, oh yeah, like I'm blue gold, or I'm green orange, like, so you figure out what's basically most like you.
So Miss Sean Lartigue, I guess that's the way you
Yes.
pronounce her last name. She says, I've taken the test and I am blue, true, and true.
Yeah.
Hey, Chef Andre. And then Round Snow.
Hmm.
Hi, Chef Andre. Atiba here. I'd likely to be a bit green and gold.
Yeah. So those two I've actually went to high school with, and that was a
Okay.
long time ago. But yes,
Okay.
and yeah. So yeah, they yeah, it's interesting how how you think about things, and what's funny is Tiva was a very artsy. He was great at art, so I
Okay.
think he's got some blue in there somewhere.
Okay.
But and that's the other thing, I didn't learn that in the course when I took it. I feel like you change over time. The older
Mhm.
you get, sometimes you change. Like when I was young, this is a funny story. I made a computer program on my Commodore 64 my grandmother bought me. I had a little football program, me and my friend. It didn't have graphics, but we would type first down and 3, and it would give this whole thing. And then now I don't even know what 2 plus 2 is now, but I was doing computer programs back in the 80s with the Commodore 64. So I think you change over time. So I think it's just like with anything, your personality types will change once you get older, so you might not stay. If you took this test like I did back in 99, and I did this with my wife, we actually re-looked at it, and it was different. Like I feel different now. I'm 40 now, and back then I was 20 something. So I believe you change with time. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you might not. That's what's fun about this. It's for you. The basic principle to me, what I got out of it, is to be able to talk to other people. So if there's opposites, right? So a green is green and blues are opposite. Like I said, green's very analytical, blues are very artsy. So blues are sort of out there, sort of in the clouds. They go with the flow, like, oh, I love this. I don't care. Like, oh, that might be misplaced, but it's okay. If you're hanging a painting or something like behind me, if one of those are off, blues are like, that's fine. I like it like that. Greens are going to look at there and be like, oh, that's an inch off, and it's going to mess with them, and so those two are sort of opposites. So you start to learn orange and golds are sort of opposites. Orange typically are your leaders in companies. Believe it or not, orange, the risk takers, they're usually the CEOs. The golds, they're opposites. This is my opinion. The golds are usually real structured, and they're usually like the person right below the orange, and they sort of bump heads a little bit because the gold is like, this person sitting up here flighty and jumping off of skydiving and doing all this, and I'm structured and I'm doing this and I'm organized, and why is he in charge type thing. So you go back and forth with it. But if you learn how to, like you said, your podcast is Relationship Matters. The best part of all of this, gold and food and everything mixing together, is we sit down and we eat at the table. That's one of the most intimate things you can do as a family. I remember watching Cosby Show, back then, and we would just sit there and talk. And even on the show and at home, that's when like you're the most honest. You tell your parents, they ask you a question, you're like, you know what, Dad, I did skip school that day. I'm sorry about that. Like you're the most honest when you're eating food, because there's something about eating and sitting together with people where that relationship is just great, and you're more open and honest, and you just, you're there. So the psychology that I always thought psychology and food had some kind of connection, and that's sort of where I draw it. Is
Okay.
you can sit down and eat with people, and you talk. You just sit down and talk, and you eat a great meal, especially if it's really good. You just eating
And
and
you
you
know what?
talking.
That's something that's missing, you
Yeah.
know, um, today, because now, it's eating on the run. People don't actually sit down at the table and have a meal.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even when I was coming up, you had to come to the
Yeah.
table. Everything stopped. You had to come to the table, and you're sitting around, and like you said, you're talking with each other,
Mhm.
and sometimes you even solidify relationships
Mhm.
around the table. But I wanted to put this here from Nate McDaniels.
Yeah.
Congratulations, nephew. I'm so proud of you. Continue to teach and spread your knowledge of food. Looking forward to sharing a meal with you.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
that's
wow. So
that's
now here's a question that came in. Uh, okay, I was just making sure. Oh, okay. Oh my goodness, the Wilson family. Chef Andre has come a long way, and I am very impressed. Great job. All righty.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Chef Andre, we're gonna have you come to Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love
So
that.
now this question came in. What are your thoughts on competitive cooking contests? And have you ever competed in one?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've competed. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. There's a couple kinds of different contests, and I've done them all actually. Now that I think about it, the first one I did was in Denver. It was 100-man cooking competition. It was up in Denver for black men that wanted to cook, and they let other people compete, but it was up in Denver. And I was scared. My wife said, "You got to do it." So I did that. That was, shoot, I want to say like 8 years ago. I've done the chop style competitions. That
What's that? The chop style.
chop style. So Chopped is a show off Food Network. Chopped is, you don't know what your ingredients are, and
Oh,
so you find out what your ingredients are, and you just go with it. So I did that. That was fun. That one's more nerve wracking than you just making your food and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna bring mine and go up against everybody." But yes, I've done several competitions. I
so
like
what?
to
So
say,
what was your food? What did you chop? What did you cook?
oh, for the chop competition. So shoot, I think I did. It was like a baguette. So we did stages. We did an appetizer. Shoot, entree, all of that
Okay.
stuff. So the appetizer, I did think I had duck. It was a duck with the red wine sauce, and it was on a baguette. And I think I had a cheese sauce as well. Yeah, I still have pictures of it. That one was fun. That was nerve wracking, but yeah, it was fun. The other
So
one,
have you ever won one?
no, no, to be
Yeah,
honest,
not yet.
no, no. I'll
Not
win one.
yet.
It's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming. I'm about to take over. But yeah,
yes.
I came in second a couple times, third,
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, no, I haven't got the first yet. I haven't got that trophy just yet. But yeah, I've gotten second, third couple times. So yeah.
okay. So Wanda Jeffrey says, that's my boo. And she says she's always proud of you.
Yeah.
So now that book that you held up,
Uh-huh.
how do we find that book? I mean, is that something, is it a part of the course? Because what's coming? What's coming?
No, so honestly, the easiest way to do it, I know you're in Chicago and I'm out here. But the easiest way to do it is if you log on to Real Colors. If you just log on to their website, you can find a Real Colors representative out in your area.
Oh,
It won't have the food part of it like I do. I change it. It's called a brightening exercise. So the brightening exercise is you've taken the test, you've done all of that, and then the brightening exercise sort of pits you against each other. Not really against each other, but you sort of learn like all your blues go over here. You usually do a drawing. And so
okay.
I decided, since it's with food, I want to change the drawing up and actually have people work together and use the food instead of just doing that exercise. So if you look up somebody local, you can pick a person. They should have a bio or something like that. And then they will come out and train you. And then they will purchase the book and then bring it out to you. And to me, like
But
it's a
is that
cult.
book different from your book?
No, it's the same book.
It's
It's
the
the same book.
same book.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you said something to me about certified. You have to be certified to teach that, correct?
Yes, yes, yep.
Okay. 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 Wait a minute. Because we only got about 10 minutes.
All
Or
right.
really about 5 minutes. Now I know there's something coming soon.
Okay.
And we talk about okay. There's something coming soon. And that is, and I am so excited about it. I know you are too. You're going to be teaching online.
Yes, I'm trying to get that set up. Yes, I will do. I'll do some things online. And yeah, yeah, that'll be
And
that's
that
the,
is
the
coming soon.
last piece.
I mean, so because I'm excited about it because I want to whatever it is you're teaching,
Mhm.
it's got to do with food. I really want to learn about it. So, will you be teaching that particular, about colors and food? Will you be teaching that, or yeah?
Yeah, so I do a combination of everything. I'll be doing kids classes. I'll be doing teaching adults, date night classes, and yes,
Online, all of that's gonna be online.
it will be in person and online. Yeah. The
Oh,
online is the last piece. I want to try to get that together, but that's a little hard because we got to take the test and everything. But when COVID hit, we got some instruction. I haven't really got too deep into that yet, but we got instruction on how to teach the Real Colors online. The difficult part with mine is when it comes to the food, you can teach it online, but when it comes to the food, I sort of want you to get into it and get hands-on with people. So I'm just still working out the kinks on trying to how to put that online. So, but yeah, all of that's coming. It's just coming soon and fast. So yeah.
yeah. Well, that's very, 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 very interesting. So, Chef Andre, so we only got a couple of minutes. So, what is the something you want to give to this audience, especially people who might be thinking about being a chef, oh, even a caterer, which has to do with, doing their own food and stuff, what advice would you give them?
Oh man. Like just keep an open mind, take some leadership classes. There's a difference between a cook and a chef, and the chef is they honestly, the people don't understand this. They've either went to school or they just came through the ranks. They started as a dishwasher. Either way, to be called a chef, in my opinion, you have to be able to cook. One, you don't have to be the best, because most of your home cooks are going to cook better than you sometimes. They've been doing
Okay.
it for a long time. But you don't have to be the best. But to be a chef, you actually have to lead people. That's the difference between a cook and being a chef.
Okay.
A lot of people don't get that. So take the Real Colors course. Learn how to build your team, because without your team, you're nobody. So you got to be able to follow first. Like I had my mentor. I sat down. I listened to everything he had to say. Everywhere I go, I even asked the people that work for me, like, "Hey, what do you know?" Like you might be a different ethnicity, and I'm like, "Hey, I don't know that cuisine. I want to, so
Okay.
teach me what you got to do." Um, so yeah, like just be humble, follow your passion, and always, if it's your true passion, I don't probably need to say this, but follow up on it. Always
Go for it.
read
Yeah.
up on it. Try to be the best you can. Just be the best you can be. Don't try to be better than everybody else. Just be the best version of you that you can be, and you'll be perfectly fine. As long as you love it, you'll be fine.
Well, Chef Andre, thank you so much. It has been a plum pleasing pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm just so happy that I wandered into that kitchen,
Yeah.
and watched you cook, watch you show kids and talk about kids and food and teaching them, and they were so diverse, all
Yeah.
ethnicities.
Yep.
And so I wish you all the luck in the world.
Yeah.
I know that your online course and is going to be fantabulous.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you. Oh, geez. Jacqueline Rogers, no, she said, this is so informative. Is there a book?
I would love to do a book. I've been thinking about that, sort of combining the food and doing a cookbook with the Real Colors stuff. So I
Yeah,
definitely
Jacqueline, there is going to be a book.
I, I, I will
We're
work on
putting that. We're putting that out there right now. We
it. I will.
claiming it. We claiming that book.
All
So
right.
thank you so much, Chef Andre. It's
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you are my guest today, and I really appreciate you coming on. And you have been so informative. And now I know who I am and why I arrange my food like I do. So you take care.
You too. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It was a pleasure. I'm glad we met, and it's been a pleasure meeting you and doing everything with you. I appreciate everything you've done.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, it's been great. I learned a lot. Now I know. So people, when you see me, if with me and I'm eating, and you're looking at me arranging my food, now you know why. Okay. All righty. So I will see you again next week with another interesting guest. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And I just appreciate you, appreciate my audience. And thank you very much, Pamela. I really appreciate Mama. I really, really appreciate you. All righty. See you again next week on Relationship Matters TV. And remember, there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters, and life is about relationships. All righty.